Hi, I'm Maya. I'm with Inspire Culture, Learning and Libraries and part of the I'm a Reader project, and I am talking to author Clare Harvey today, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hiya, I'm Clare, and I'm one of the authors who's been involved with the I'm a Reader project, which has been going on for the past 2 months, and it's been a huge amount of fun. I'm also the author of 4 historical fiction novels. I don't know what else I can tell you about me. That's kind of it, really.
No, that's perfect. And that sort of leads me into the first question of why did you want to get involved with this project and why did you want to be the authors with these reading groups?
I got really excited about it because this idea about reading being a creative act, I really got, and I really like the idea of sort of repurposing and upcycling existing texts and other people's thoughts into a new creative work. So one of the things that I did with the group I was with was I got them all to bring in their favourite books and to find their favourite passages from their favourite books and talk about their favourite books as well. And then what we did was they found we honed it right down until they had like a little small handful of words, which were sort of their favourite words from the favourite passage in their favourite book. And they gave me these words, and I took them away and used them as writing prompts to then create new fiction. And then I took these little snippets of new fiction back to the group and got them all to reread it and then decide with the new snippet how they would then turn that into a new story and how it made them feel when they read it. And so it was sort of segueing in and out of reading and writing to create something new. It was a remarkable and really enjoyable process.
Now, that sounds really interesting and it sounds really fun as well. And I think that's what's really good about this whole project is like exploring these ideas that can seem a bit out there at first, I think, if you've never thought about it, but exploring them in really interesting and new ways. And it's definitely something I'm interested in as well. Um, and so, yeah, that kind of leads me into one of my next questions. And you covered it a bit already, but what has it been like working with the group and what kind of ideas have been coming back alongside the ones that you've already mentioned? And did any kind of surprise you or really stick with you? What are the thoughts from other people, basically?
It was such a joy. And what was really nice was that when you're with a group of readers, it feels like you're with your tribe. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
definitely. Yeah.
everybody was really different and from very different demographics, very different backgrounds, but we all had this passion for reading in common. So there was a real sort of sense of solidarity in the group, and everybody got on with everybody else. Everybody was very respectful of other people's reading choices and other people's opinions. And what I found surprising was I had assumed that people read visually because when I'm reading and when I'm writing, I kind of see the action. If I'm writing, I see the action and I describe it, or if I'm reading, I read the action and I see it in my mind.
Yeah, I'm very similar.
But there were some readers who don't read visually; they read emotionally, and so there was someone in the group who said she doesn't see things, but she still gets a huge amount out of reading, but she it's all emotional rather than visual, and that had never occurred to me before. So that was a real something new that I learned about the act of reading that came up from that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, yeah, like you, I'm quite a visual reader. I always say that I can almost picture it like a film, like I can
Yeah.
visualize the scene and things like that. And I've had conversations sparked by I'm a Reader with other people, like family and friends, about how they read. And some of them have said, like, oh no, I don't picture things like that. And it's really interesting that people's brains work so differently and like
Yeah.
even in just like simply reading a book, we all experience it differently, and I love that. Um, Again, this conversation is going really well because that leads me into my next question that I actually wrote down. Um, and again, you've already covered a bit, sort of like how you read visually and how you can see it, but as an author, what's your experience of creative reading? And how do you think that's different to someone who might not be an author and doesn't write?
I don't know if you. I think the only the way you read differently as an author is that as an author you're always on the lookout for new ideas.
Yeah.
So I will read an old memoir or an old piece of fiction or an old piece of poetry and think, oh, I really like that idea or that phrase or the way that's described, and think, how can I use that in my work? So I'm reading as a magpie. And I think maybe as a general reader, you're not going to be thinking about what you can steal or appropriate or repurpose in your own work. So I think that's a difference. And also sometimes you're looking at the underlying structure a bit more if you're an author, because you're thinking, how did they get from there to there? How did they make me like that character? Or at what point did that character start to change? And you're looking at the foundations or the sort of corsetry of it a lot more than as a reader you're just carried along, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I suppose that's the difference, is that sometimes I find myself going, oh, how do they do that? But when it's a really brilliant book, you don't read like a writer anymore, and you do just get carried along by the story. What is it I've just read? And in fact I'm joining the Inspire Zoom book club group in about an hour's time. I've just read The Lamplighter's by Emma Stonex, and that was one of those stories that I just went, oh, this is really good, and I just dived in, and I didn't really think, oh, how's she doing this, how's she doing that, what were her inspirations, or it was just a great story and I was just drawn in immediately. So I don't know that there's a huge difference.
No, but that's still interesting to hear, and it's nice to know that sometimes, like, even when you are reading and you're used to like seeing what other authors are doing, that sometimes a book can completely just sweep you away, and I really love that.
And that's what you want. You just want to be transported, don't you, to another place, another time, another body, it's an escape from the present, isn't it, which we all need at the moment.
Yes, definitely. I think the past couple of books, I've read some really interesting ones recently that have really swept me away. I think at the moment I'm trying to find one that really just like grasps me. So I might tag onto that Inspire Reading Book Club one if it's that good that it swept you away. I'm in my like reading slump at the moment, so I need to find something that just grabs my attention. So I think that might be the one.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to ask you, because I think the sort of reading groups have started to come to an end now, haven't they? The sort of more formal, like sit-down discussion parts. And so I was going to ask you what you're most excited for in the next sort of stage of the project, about like going away and doing the writing, and then sort of what's coming in the project with like the illustrations and the exhibitions.
Well, I've sort of done a draft story, and what I really want to do, and I don't know how it's going to work actually, but I want to go back to the group and I want them to be my beta readers, as it were. I want to get their editing input, because I know it's just a draft and it's not perfect, and because they've been so involved in the creation of the story, I want them to be involved in the editing process as well. So I don't know how it's supposed to work, but what I think I will do is read the draft aloud to them and ask them for their input so that I can make it better and finalise it. And then it'll be really exciting to see what kind of illustrations. Wonderful illustrator, so it'll be really exciting to see what comes up, and it'll be fascinating to see, because I know all the authors took very different approaches with their group, so it'll be really interesting to see not only how the groups were different, but also all of us authors work very differently as well. To see what they've all done with the material and with the inspiration. It's been great.
Yeah, and I think that's like what's so exciting about this project and the real push for sort of like the diverse readers and seeing the different experience of people from different backgrounds. And I think that's what's going to be so great about when it all comes together, sort of just seeing the vast array of people's experiences. Like I've already seen sort of trickles come through, talking to other people on the team about it, about things that are already coming back. And there's the Facebook group now that's been made for currently members of the reading group, and I think at some point it's going to open to the public so people can get involved. And so it's going to be really exciting seeing things coming through on there as well, and having that sort of like tangible like feedback. And I'm excited for it as well, and I'm just on the like this side of it. I'm not even getting to be involved with writing or anything, but I just think it all sounds really exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think we've even just opened up, so like the website launched a couple weeks ago, so members of the public can actually already get involved on there. And I think there's a little polls on there, and people have already started saying how they read creatively. And there was one about, do you think reading is a creative act? And surprisingly, quite a lot of people said yes, which before doing this project, I didn't think about a lot. And I don't know about you, did you think of it as a creative thing until you sort of like sat down and thought about it?
No, I thought I was being entertained.
Yeah.
And then it's only when I considered it, I thought, well, no, because a huge part of that process is my brain doing the work. It's very different from watching a film, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So it definitely is a creative act. And it was nice to see that the readers themselves realising that they are creatives too. Yeah.
Yeah, because quite a lot of people wouldn't pin themselves as creative if they're not sitting down and producing an art. But I guess using your imagination in reading like that really is an art in itself. And I think that's what's so nice about this project and really highlighting that.
But I also think it's a bit like working with a group. It's a bit like if you went to a dressmaker and you could go in with the fabric that you want and a sketch of what you wanted. And of course, the dressmaker would then have the expertise to do the right stitches and cut the fabric correctly. But it would still be your vision that they were realising. And I think there was an element of that in this, that I felt that I was trying to realise their vision. So it's their story as much as it is mine. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that sort of brings us to a really nice close on that. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about this, and talk to anyone watching or listening about this. And I think it's just really interesting to get an insight into the groups, and going forwards, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it. So thank you.
Absolutely.